Hi, my name is Jesse Johnson, and today I'll be giving a presentation on generativity. In this presentation, I will be exploring generativity, the desire to contribute to future generations. We will discuss what it is, explore why it's important, and how to actualize it. We will look at theorists who have built on Erikson's theories about midlife development, specifically his seventh stage, which results in generativity or stagnation. We will also explore the ways cultural values shape what different communities view as generative. I will look at my own slightly higher than moderate generativity score and explain how it relates to my desire to give back, mostly through my passion for research and the personal insight I have to offer, discussing why my best contributions could be through research and publication rather than teaching in person. My personality aligns heavily with my generativity score, being as though I am driven, organized, and compassionate, but I prefer solitude. In my life today, I am researching existential psychology, and I hope to publish any novel discoveries that I find. Ultimately, I believe that when we align our personality with our generativity, we can discover our purpose, and this discovery will lead to greater life satisfaction. This presentation is both a reflection of my own path and what generativity might look like for each and every one of us. So, what is generativity? Generativity is the desire we have and the efforts we put into contributing to future generations. It is a concept introduced by Erik Erikson in the seventh stage of psychosocial development, which most people experience in middle adulthood, roughly between the ages of 40 and 64. These are the years of life in which one's general concerns align with their legacy and what they will be leaving behind for future generations. This is an important stage, not just for the future generations being helped, but for the person doing the helping, as generativity can provide a deep sense of purpose and meaning. This deep sense of purpose and meaning has been linked to higher life satisfaction and better mental health as people grow older. There are many ways to actualize our generativity, including actions like parenting, teaching, and the ways we serve in our communities. This can also be achieved through mentoring young people or simply doing what that society deems valuable. Most importantly, generativity doesn't have to be some grandiose achievement. It can be expressed in day to day conversations we have with the people in our lives. What matters is the intent. To understand generativity more thoroughly, we can look at the theorist who helped us to understand it on a deeper level. As I mentioned before, Erik Erikson introduced the concept of generativity in his seventh stage of psychosocial development. However, as we explore his theory even deeper, we see that this stage of development results in one of two things, either generativity or stagnation. It is during this stage that one starts to question whether they contributed to the next generation or did they become self absorbed and focused on their own self interest. Dan McAdams built on Erikson's theories by including the motivational factors behind generativity and what actually drives people to care, act, and tell stories that give their lives coherence. These factors tie people's behaviors to their own personal identity, showing how people gain meaning through generative actions. Cheryl Logan offers a different step by step look at generativity. She points to identity and inner desire, concern, and action as the largest contributing factors. I resonate with Logan's theory most because it feels more personal, measurable, and attainable. When I think about the ways these things make me who I am, I get a better sense of just how much my personal traits fit into the bigger picture. Culture also plays a pivotal role in the ways we express generativity. Different cultures have different sets of values which contribute to what they consider best for future generations. Let's take gender roles for instance. Traditionally, in the United States, women were expected to take on household chores and caregiving responsibilities, which is considered generativity through parenting. On the other hand, men have traditionally been told that they need to be leaders and providers, which are generative acts in and of themselves. There are also many religious belief systems that attribute generativity to moral duties, like being of service to others. For religious people, Acts of service are often deeply tied to their sense of purpose and not seen as simple personal choices but spiritual callings. Last but not least, there is education, which shapes generativity by encouraging teachers to share their knowledge. This is a path that is incredibly rewarding for those who feel that they too have benefited from the teachers in their lives, so much so that they feel the desire to help shape the minds of the future, an incredibly fulfilling role that fills one with a deep sense of meaning and purpose. Now, after completing the Loyola Generativity Scale, my score was slightly higher than moderate. This shows that I have a genuine desire to contribute to future generations, but in my own specific and meaningful way. As I answered the questions on the scale, most of my answers leaned towards indirect means of social contribution, not direct instruction. I am motivated to pass what I have learned down to future generations, more specifically in areas such as existential meaning and exploration of the unconscious mind. My hopes are to do this through research and publishing, but with that being said, I do realize that there is still room for me to grow as a person. While I do not naturally gravitate towards teaching in traditional classroom settings, I could still take on roles of direct engagement through one on one mentorship, broadening my generative impact. This sort of self assessment has helped me to get a better sense of where my strengths lie and what sort of generativity feels most natural to me. It also helped me see the ways in which stepping out of my comfort zone could benefit not just myself, but future generations as well. When I measure my own personality traits, I can see just how big of a role they play in the ways I approach generativity. When it comes to trait openness, I score somewhere between moderate and low, which means I mostly prefer a structured routine. This goes hand in hand with my very high score in conscientiousness, which gives me a sense of responsibility and discipline. These are important traits for generative work, like research and writing. Tie these things in with my low score and extroversion, and we can see just how much I prefer quiet, independent environments where I can fully immerse myself in my generative purpose. I also score moderate to high when it comes to agreeableness. This explains my compassion and empathy towards helping others. My neuroticism score is moderate to low, making me fairly stable emotionally, which helps me to manage my work without being overwhelmed. This exploration of my personality traits affirms the conclusions I came to after rating myself on the Loyola Generativity Scale. I lean towards solitary but meaningful work, which, while I don't gravitate towards teaching or working in large groups, I am deeply invested in helping through thoughtful contribution. This slide points to the ways in which I currently engage in generative behavior. One of the main contributions is my focus on researching solutions to existential anxieties. More specifically, the ways in which people can cope with deep psychological challenges and find meaning in their life. My hope is that from this research I am conducting, I can not only benefit individuals directly, but also contribute to the broader conversations around mental health. From there, I am building on my generative actions by writing and developing new theories, which a much larger goal to contribute to ideas that will stick around long after I am gone, helping future generations who struggle to find meaning and direction. While I am in the research and writing phase of my generative efforts, publishing comes next. Sharing my research and findings through academic and professional channels will be the way in which I contribute through indirect mentorship. Again, we can see how these activities align with my personality and my values, providing that generativity does not always come from direct contact, but can be manifested through purpose driven, solitary creations. As we continue, you will notice that my current generative trajectory from the last slide blends right into my future goals. While I have yet to gain the credentials needed to make a lasting impact, I have been researching long before I started going to school. With that being said, where I am now is actualizing my long term goals. All of my long term goals contribute to the ways in which I hope to impact future generations. Academically, I plan to further my education, obtain a master's degree, and then move on to a doctorate in psychology. These are important steps for me to take in fulfilling my generativity goals, as they will equip me with the tools and credibility I need in order to contribute to the field of psychology and have an impact. I mentioned before that I am exploring new ways to understand and reduce existential suffering. What that means to me is investigating things like how one creates meaning in their life, how one becomes emotionally resilient, and how one can navigate the inner turmoil that builds up throughout one's life. Publishing is the most important part of this generative work, as it is the articles, the books, and the journals that will outlast me, and I hope that future generations can always turn to my work when they need insight, guidance, or support. The truth is, generativity evolves over time. Perhaps I will step out of my comfort zone and begin working with people one on one. Doing so would allow me for the closer and more personal connections many people are missing today. A lot of people who are suffering in the world today don't have the time to read academic work or simply don't enjoy it, but that shouldn't stop them from getting the help they deserve. Looking ahead, once I do obtain my master's and a doctorate, I will be eligible to become a licensed therapist, which could present another avenue for me to work with people one on one, increasing my generativity. On our final slide here is a bonus slide based on a few key points that I wanted to end the presentation on. In my research, I found that feeling valued by younger generations boosts life satisfaction. This means that being respected reinforces generativity, especially when they respect is coming from young people. This can be so encouraging to some that they find new ways to increase generativity. Another important lesson I learned was that generativity also takes place at work, amongst coworkers. Generative actions in the workplace can encourage others and promote cooperation, which gives credence to the idea that when people engage in generativity, it leads to better relationships, greater engagement and energy, and a stronger desire to take action and pass on what they've learned. Last but not least, I want to leave you with this. It turns out that our personality can also have an effect on the way in which we age. Traits like conscientiousness and openness have been shown to be linked to better cognitive health. These traits typically present themselves as self discipline, curiosity, and the willingness to learn new things. Every one of these attributes aligns with generative possibilities, but on the opposite side of the spectrum, traits like high neuroticism can lead to faster rates of cognitive decline along with emotional instability, which means these attributes align more with stagnation and middle age development. Again, my name is Jesse Johnson, and this was my presentation on generativity. I hope you have a great day.